What's up, Star Wars nerds? It's Star Wars Gamer 2018 here, and today we're going to be going over the weapons in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, while we're going over the weapons, I'll be telling you what planet I would recommend the weapon to, how good the weapon is, and a little bit of history about the weapon. And we're going to go over the 4 classes: the Assault, the Heavy, the Officer, and the Specialist. Now we're starting with the Assault. Now, the first weapon of the Assault is the DC-15A. The DC-15A was used by clone troopers during the Clone Wars and is I believe is a very good weapon. It does a good amount of damage, has a decent rate of fire, a decent range, and it has a very good cooling power. Now, this gun, since it does a good amount of damage, and it doesn't have very much range, I would not recommend it to a planet such as Kashyyyk or Crate where you were trying to snipe soldiers, because this gun isn't meant for that. I would recommend this to a planet if it's a very close quarter combat planet, such as in Kashyyyk when they are invading the Venator class Star Destroyer. This weapon would be very good in that situation, and I think, to me, this is a very, very good weapon. Moving on to the A280. The A280 was used by the Rebel Alliance during the Galactic Civil War. It has a 3-burst blaster bolt, which shoots out basically three blaster bolts at a time. It does an okay amount of damage, just a little bit low between the DC-15A. It's a little low on the rate of fire. The range is good, and the cooling power is decent. Now, I have tried this weapon out. I've seen other people try it out, and for me, I don't enjoy this weapon very much. Not to be rude, but this weapon, to me, isn't the best. Since it has that 3 bolt burst, every single time you shoot, the weapon is gonna go up, and then it's gonna go up, and then you have to take it back down, and I think that's very hard. And since it has a very sort of good range, I would allow this to be on Kashyyyk, but it's not. It is sort of a sniping weapon, but not really. I believe that there is also, for the mods equipped, it would be the improved range and the improved cooling power, so that would help you in the battle. This is an okay weapon, but the damage does not do very good. I would recommend it to sort of close quarter combat areas, but not anything that big. Moving on to the CR2. The CR2 is used by the Naboo security guard. It is a very good weapon, but it does do a small amount of damage. It has a very good rate of fire. Its range is not the best, but its cooling power is very good. Now, since this doesn't have a very good range, off the bat I can recommend this to planets that have close quarter combat, such as on Yavin 4, when you're in the Rebel base, you can use this weapon, and it will take enemies down. Also on the Death Star, you can use it. But the only problem is that whenever you're shooting, whenever you start shooting and you can't stop because you're enjoying yourself, the gun's gonna start going up, and it's just gonna keep on going up, and then you're gonna have to go into the cooling power. And to prevent the gun from going up when you're trying to shoot a target, the reduced recoil would be very good for a mod equipped. There's also the night vision, which would be helpful with the range. So this gun, if you get the mods equipped, then this gun would be a very good gun. I think I've used it a couple of times. It's actually not too bad of a small but actually extreme blaster. Then finally, for Assault, we have the EL-16HFE. This gun is used by Resistance fighters and does a lot of damage. It has a short rate of fire, it has a good range, and a good cooling power. Now, again, from the CR2, whenever you're shooting, the gun is going to go up, and to prevent that, the mods equipped could be the reduced recoil, which means the gun doesn't keep on going up. It does do a lot of rate. It does do a small rate of fire, but the damage is very low. And I could actually include this in the sniper position, such as on Crate or Kashyyyk. This gun would be very useful since it has a good range, and this does a lot of damage. Headshots would work perfectly, and these are all my guns I would recommend for the assault. Moving on to the heavy, you have the DC-15. The DC-15 is a standard weapon that is used by the clone troopers during the Clone Wars. It does, since these are heavy weapons, they're not going to do very much damage. This does now again, it doesn't do very much damage. This is a fairly amount of damage. It has a very good rate of fire. Its range is short, and its cooling power is good. This gun is very well, and I would recommend it to close quarters, such as on Naboo, when the Separatists are taking over the palace. This would be a very good weapon to use. And I think I've used this a lot. It's a very, very good weapon. Now we have the DC-15 LE, which was used by the Clone Army. It's modified for longer ranges. It does the same amount of damage to the DC-15. It has a bigger rate of fire, the same range, and the cooling power. Now you can have an improved zoom or an improved scope for the weapon, which would be very good in a battle. But I have tried this out, and to compare between the DC-15, I would enjoy the DC-15 better, because whenever I'm shooting a lot with the DC-15 LE, I'm not sure what you call it, the place where you're aiming gets bigger, so it's harder to shoot targets. This weapon is very good, used for close quarters, such as on Naboo, and when the Separatists are taking over the Venator-class Star Destroyer on Kashyyyk. That's when it would be used. Now we have the FWMB 10K, which is used by the First Order. This weapon does the most damage, I believe so. Yes, the most damage in the heavy class. It has a lot of damage, a shorter rate of fire. It has a good range. It has a little bit less of a cooling power to the DC-15. Now this weapon is, I believe, very, very well. It does lots of damage. I use this on Starkiller Base when the Resistance is trying to free their prisoners, and I think this weapon works very, very nice. I'm hoping that when you complete everything, that you can get this weapon, because this would really help you in a battle if it's close quarters. Then finally, the TL-50. The TL-50 is a heavy repeater which was manufactured for Imperial Special Forces, such as Inferno Squad with Iden Versio. Now this does this is the second most damage weapon. It does a good damage, a good rate of fire, okay range, and an okay cooling power. Now what I like about this is that when you have the weapon, you can get secondary fire, which when you're holding the zoom, you're able to do a charge, which a lethal concussion blast, which does a lot of damage. I would use this weapon in close quarters, such as on Starkiller Base when the Resistance is invading Starkiller Base, also on Naboo when Separatists are invading the Palace. For secondary fire, I think you could use this as sort of a grenade launcher, or sort of like a grenade launcher, where you could fire at enemies from far away distances. It does lots of damage, and this gun is very, very good. I really, really wanted to get this gun, but I'm not able to because it's locked, and I'm hoping that when I get this gun, I'm going to rake up a lot of kills. And that's the last one for heavy. Now we move on to officer, and we have the DC-17. It is a fast-firing pistol that was used by clone officers during the Clone Wars. This gun does a good amount of damage, okay rate of fire, okay range, and a pretty good cooling power. This gun since it doesn't have a very good range, I would use this in a small area. It could be far away, but a small area. This gun doesn't need a recoil. This gun doesn't have a recoil, so it doesn't keep on going up. So it is a very, very good weapon. And whenever I'm playing as a clone, I usually play using this weapon. Now we have the S5, which is used again by the Naboo security forces. This weapon has a big recoil. Since it does a lot of damage, it has a recoil, a small rate of fire, a good range, and a decent cooling power. Now again, as I told you, it does lots of damage. It's going to keep on going up, and there is a reduced recoil, which would make it very good. I use this weapon, and this could be used as a sniping weapon because it has the scope. When in close quarter situations, I would say no. I don't think that this would be the best weapon because it doesn't have a good rate of fire, but it is a very good weapon from far away. And there's the Blurg 1120, which is used by which is named after a stoic creature native to the planet Ryloth. This was used by Ryloth civilians during the Battle of Ryloth, when the Separatists had a blockade over Ryloth, and civilians on Ryloth wanted to fight back. Now this does a decent amount of damage. A good amount of damage, a decent amount of rate of fire, kind of okay range, and a really good cooling power. This has a 2 blast burst, which is actually very useful. I do not believe it does have a reduced recoil, so if you get that will help you in a battle. I would use this in a close area just because it doesn't have a good range, and I think it's a decent weapon. Then there's the SC-4C, which is used by First Order officers as their primary blaster. Now this weapon does the least amount of damage in the officer class. Now it has a decent amount of damage. It has a good rate of fire, a good range, and okay cooling power. Now I don't mean to be rude. I have not unlocked this weapon yet, but if I did, I probably would not use it. I would test it out once. I just don't see it doing very well. It doesn't do very much damage, so I don't expect it to do good at all. But you never know. In some situation, something can happen, and you can use this weapon to get a lot of kills. This would be used for a short area, a small area, so it's not very far away. And I haven't tried the weapon out, but if any of you have tried it out, if you have it, please tell me how it is so that I can get a better understanding on how it is. So then that's the end of Officer. Now we're moving on to Specialist, my favorite class. Now we're starting off with the Valken 38X. This weapon is used by clone troopers and is a very good sniping weapon. It does a good amount of damage, a good rate of fire, a good range, and a decent cooling power. Now, this weapon would be used, I believe, very far, not very far, but a good distance away from an enemy. It could be used in a close area, but I'm not so sure. It has been a very long time since I ever used this weapon, and I think that it's a okay weapon. Again, it would be used in a medium range from an enemy. Then we have the IQ-A11. This is my second favorite weapon. This is used by mercenaries and bounty hunters. So when they are going to assassinate someone, this looks like the weapon that they would use. As when I used to watch the Clone Wars everyone look like they use this weapon if you're a bounty hunter. This does a very good amount of damage, an okay rate of fire, a good range, and an okay cooling power. I use this weapon a lot, and I think it's just really, really good. This could be used for faraway ranges, such as on Crate at the beginning of the battle and Kashyyyk. If you have this weapon, I recommend that you use it because this is going to do a lot of damage. Then we have the A280 CFE. I do not know very much about this weapon. If you if someone is out there and they just watched this video, can you please comment tell me what this weapon is about? It does the lowest, I believe it does. Yes, the lowest amount of damage. I dislike this weapon a lot. I'm sorry. I know this isn't an opinion, but I really do dislike. This isn't an opinion video, but I really do dislike this weapon. I have not used it, but I have used it once, and it just didn't do very good. It has a decent damage, okay rate of fire, okay range, and okay cooling power. The damage is the problem, people, Star Wars nerds. This is the problem. The damage is just not the best. I hear that it has a burst option, and it's good, and I think it's good at medium range from an enemy. It could be used in a not in very close quarter. It could be used medium range, or if you're really close to an enemy, it could be used because of the burst fire. I would not recommend this to any of you. I'm just saying it does not look like the best weapon. And then finally we have the N2242, my favorite weapon in the entire game, and the reason is the damage. The damage is unbelievable. One headshot to someone, they're dead. The rate of fire is the lowest, but you can only shoot it 3 times before it goes into the cooling power. The range is very good. The cooling power is not the best. Now, I like this weapon because of the damage. Now, since this weapon doesn't shoot very much, it doesn't shoot a lot, it doesn't hit the target in a close area, I would not like it if this was in a close quarter combat. This would be used on Crate, Kashyyyk. I'm trying to think of some other planets that are big. This could be used on Starkiller Base at the beginning, as everything is outdoors. Anything outdoors that is very far away, use this weapon. That's all I can say. You need to use this weapon. You need to get all those kills so that you can finally unlock this weapon. Now, it does have improved cooling, and I should probably get that. It does have a disruptor shot, and it also does have a dual zone, which is better. But I'm not going to do that since I am killing it with this weapon. This is a very, very good weapon. I think that a lot of you people, all you Star Wars nerds, you need to get this weapon because it is going to give you a lot of kills. A lot of kills if you're somewhere very far away. Now, I forgot to add in this video that the first weapon, such as the DC-15A, is used by clone troopers. Now, since all of these are clone troopers, that's going to be their primary weapon. Well, it turns out that if you're a stormtrooper, it's going to be different. It's going to be the E11. So I'm going to try to remember what weapons it starts off with. And I'm going to start off with Assault. So the first primary weapon that they have for stormtroopers is the E11. The E11 is used by stormtroopers. It's used during the Galactic Civil War. A very, very good weapon. It's used for medium ranges, and it can deal out a lot of damage. Heavy for stormtroopers, it is... okay, skip that one. Officer is... okay, I'm not gonna go with this, but you need it. I'm just gonna give you examples of clones, and you need to get this weapon. Also for Enforcer and Aerial, I remember that for Aerial, for the clone is the DC-17. For the First Order, it's the SC-44C, and I'm not sure what it is for the Rebellion. It's the A280, and for the Resistance, it's the EL-16HFE. And then for Enforcer, you have a Wookiee Warrior. Right now, a Wookiee Warrior would have a Wookiee Bowcaster. This is a First Order Stormtrooper, it's a First Order Enforcer. He has a Flamethrower. For the Empire, it's a Death Trooper, and for the I'm not sure on the Enforcer. I will try to figure this out, but I just wanted to give all the classes first, and I hope that you enjoy this video, and I hope that you get all these weapons. I hope you didn't forget about my weapon. Just look at that weapon, so nice and fancy. I hope that you start playing Battlefront a lot more and you get all these weapons. Star Wars nerds, I will see you later. I hope you enjoyed my first 3 episodes of Galactic Assault, Heroes vs. Villains, and Starfighter Assault. I hope you enjoyed this video and many more. If you really did enjoy this video and all the others, please hit that like button, because this is the first time I have done big videos and I want to get a lot of likes and a lot of views. Tell your friends about me, and I hope everyone has a good Star Wars fantastic day. Star Wars Gamer 2018 out!